In this video, you will understand how a financial transformation can begin in just 6 months. But first, I need to make something very clear. This is not a magic promise. It is not a miracle. It is not easy money. And it is not a secret formula for waking up rich tomorrow. What we are going to talk about here is effort, discipline, clarity, and practical action. Because many people want to change their lives, want to earn more, want to get out of debt, want to have freedom, but keep living without direction. They work, receive their pay bills, spend what is left, and wait for the next month to begin, as if their financial life were always the same cycle. And it all starts with the first point, having clarity. Most people say they want to get rich, but they have never stopped to define what that really means. Saying, "I want to get rich," may even sound like a goal, but in reality, it is just a very vague desire. It is like saying, "I want to travel," but not choosing the destination, not setting the date, not calculating the cost, and not buying the ticket. When a person lacks clarity, they work a lot, get very tired, run in all directions, but do not know exactly where they are going. And whoever does not know where they are going ends up accepting any path, any distraction, any promise, and any excuse. That is why, if you want to transform your financial life in 6 months, you need to start by writing specific, measurable goals with deadlines. It is not enough to say, "I want to earn more money." You need to say how much you want to earn, by when you want to reach that amount, and why it matters to you. For example, instead of writing, "I want to improve my life," write, "Over the next 6 months, I want to increase my monthly income by $500. Instead of saying, "I want to save," write, "In 6 months, I want to have $3,000 saved." Instead of saying, "I want to get out of debt," write, "By such a date, I want to pay off my credit card debt and stop paying interest every month." Do you notice the difference? When you put a number and a deadline, your mind starts working differently. It starts looking for solutions. It starts asking, what do I need to cut? What do I need to learn? How can I earn more? What skill can help me? How much do I need to set aside each week? Where am I losing money without realizing it? Clarity transforms a loose dream into a plan, and a well-defined plan begins to change your behavior. Imagine a person named Raphael. For years, Raphael said he wanted to get rich, but he never had a concrete goal. When he received his paycheck, he paid the bills, bought a few things, helped here and there, and at the end of the month said the same phrase, "I don't know where my money went." Raphael's problem was not just a lack of income, it was a lack of direction. Money came into his account without a clear mission, and when money has no mission, anything becomes a priority. A snack becomes a priority, an impulse purchase becomes a priority, a sale becomes a priority, a momentary desire becomes a priority. And without realizing it, the person trades the future for small satisfactions in the present. But one day, Raphael decided to do things differently. He took a sheet of paper and wrote 3 goals for the next 6 months. The first was to save a specific amount. The second was to pay off a debt that was draining part of his salary. The third was to learn a skill that could generate extra income. At that moment, nothing changed in his bank account. The money did not appear magically. The debts did not disappear. His income did not increase that same day. But something very important changed. His mind gained direction. From that point on, every decision began to be compared against those goals. Before spending, he would ask, "Does this bring me closer to or further from my objective?" Before wasting hours on his phone, he would ask, "Could this time be used to learn something that increases my income?" Before buying something on impulse, he would remember that he had a deadline, a number, and a reason, and that is how change begins. It does not begin with a large fortune, it begins with a clear decision. But there is another very important detail. Money alone is not sufficient motivation. Many people say they want to earn more money, But when difficulties arise, they stop. Why? Because the reason is still not strong enough. You need to discover your why. Why do you want to change your financial life? Is it to provide more security for your family? Is it to guarantee a better future for your children? Is it to escape dependence on a paycheck? Is it to stop living in fear of the bills? Is it to have the freedom to choose where to live, how to work, and how to use your time? When the reason is strong, discipline becomes easier. If your goal is simply to have more money, you may give up at the first obstacle. But if your goal is to protect your family, build freedom, get out of debt, or change your household story, then every effort starts to carry more meaning. Because over the next 6 months, there will be difficult days. There will be days when you are tired, days when it will seem like progress is slow, days when you will want to return to old habits. And in those moments, it will not be just the goal that sustains you. It will be the reason behind it. That is why, when you write your goals, also write the reason behind each one. Do not just write, "I want to save $3,000." Write, "I want to save $3,000 to build my emergency fund and stop living in fear of any unexpected expense." Do not just write, "I want to earn $500 more per month." Write, "I want to earn $500 more per month to start investing, ease the burden on my family, and build freedom." That gives strength to the plan. A goal without a reason is just a pretty phrase on paper. A goal with a reason becomes a commitment. So the first exercise is simple but powerful. Write 5 financial goals for the next 6 months. Include numbers, deadlines, and reasons. Be honest with your reality. Do not copy someone else's goal. Do not try to impress anyone. Write what would truly make a difference in your life. It could be increasing your income. It could be reducing a debt. It could be creating an emergency fund. It could be learning a profitable skill. It could be starting a small business. It could be organizing your budget. It could be investing a set amount every month. What matters is that each goal is clear, because clarity is the first step toward getting out of financial confusion. When you know exactly what you want, you begin to filter your decisions better. You stop spending on impulse so easily. You stop wasting time without noticing. You stop accepting just any advice. You stop following just any easy promise. You begin to walk with direction, and a person with direction, even starting small, is already ahead of many people who continue only wishing, complaining, and waiting. Therefore, if you want to transform the next 6 months into a period of real growth, start today with clarity. Take paper and pen, write your goals, define your numbers, set your deadlines, and discover the strong reason behind all of it. Because before building wealth in your pocket, you need to build direction in your mind. And in the next point, we will talk about something that can increase your value in the market and open doors to new opportunities. Developing high-value skills. Point 2, develop high-value skills. The second point for transforming your financial life in 6 months is to develop high-value skills. After you have clarity about what you want to achieve, you need to ask a very important question. What skill can increase my value in the market and bring me closer to my financial goals? Because many people want to earn more, but keep delivering the same level of value. They want a higher income, but study nothing new. They want better opportunities, but continue doing only the basics. They want to change their lives, but keep relying on the same skills they had years ago. And here is a truth that may be uncomfortable, but can also be liberating. Money tends to follow the value you are able to deliver. If you solve small problems, your reward tends to be small. If you solve bigger, more important, or more difficult problems, your opportunities also begin to grow. That is why simply wishing to earn more is not enough. You need to become a person capable of generating more value. Imagine a professional who spends years doing the same thing the same way without learning anything new. They may be hardworking, but if the world changes and they do not change with it, their opportunities begin to shrink. Now imagine another person who decides to learn sales, marketing, communication, management, technology, investing, video editing, content creation, copywriting, or any skill that has real value in the market. After 6 months, those two people will be in very different positions. The first will still be waiting for someone to recognize their effort. The second will be increasing their ability to create opportunities. And this is where many people go wrong. The person thinks they need a big break to grow, but often the big break appears after they develop a great skill. Robert Kiyosaki teaches that financial education and personal development are fundamental for those who want to escape the rat race. Because if you depend only on a salary and do not develop new skills, you remain stuck with a single source of income and a single path. But when you learn a high-value skill, you begin to open new doors. You may earn a promotion, offer services, create a business, sell more effectively, invest more intelligently, and transform knowledge into income. A high-value skill is an ability that helps you solve important problems for other people or companies. Sales is a high-value skill because every company needs to sell. Marketing is a high-value skill because every business needs to attract customers. Communication is a high-value skill because those who can explain their ideas well are able to lead, negotiate, and create opportunities. Financial education is a high-value skill because those who understand money make better decisions. Content creation is also a valuable skill because the internet has become a great showcase for businesses, brands, and professionals. The secret is not to try to learn everything at once. The secret is to choose one skill and pursue excellence in it. Many people start several things and finish none. Today they want to learn marketing. Tomorrow they want to invest in real estate. Then they want to open an online store. Then they want to learn editing. Then they want to do something completely different. In the end, they know a little about everything but master nothing. And those who master nothing have difficulty being recognized. That is why over the next 6 months, choose one main skill to develop. Choose something that makes sense with your reality, your time, your goals, and the opportunities you want to create. If you enjoy talking with people, perhaps sales and negotiation are good options. If you enjoy writing, you could study copywriting or content creation. If you enjoy technology, you could learn digital tools, automation, or editing. If you want to grow financially with more intelligence, you could study investing, cash flow, assets, and money management. But choose one direction. After choosing, create a practice routine. Because a skill does not grow through theory alone. It grows through repetition, mistakes, correction, and application. If you want to learn sales, you need to study and talk with people. If you want to learn communication, you need to practice how you explain ideas. If you want to learn content creation, you need to create content, analyze what works, and improve. If you want to learn investing, you need to study carefully, understand risks, and start responsibly. Most people get stuck because they want to feel ready before they start. But in practice, you only get better after you begin. At first, you may feel insecure. Perhaps your first written piece will not be good. Perhaps your first offer will not sell. Perhaps your first video will have few views. Perhaps your first attempt will seem weak. But that is part of the process. Those who grow financially learn to transform mistakes into information. The mistake shows what needs to be improved. The attempt shows what the market responds to. Practice shows where you need to adjust, and each adjustment leaves you better prepared. That is why you should not be afraid to start small. Be afraid of staying the same. A person who studies a skill for 1 hour a day for 6 months accumulates about 180 hours of learning and practice. Imagine what can happen with someone who dedicates 180 hours to sales, marketing, communication, financial education, or generating income online. That person will no longer be the same. They may not yet be an expert, but they will be far ahead of those who spent those same 6 months only complaining, consuming distractions, and waiting for an opportunity to fall from the sky. And here is an important lesson. A skill is an asset no one can take from you. A job can change. A company can close. A market can become more difficult. But what you learn stays with you. If you learn to sell, you carry that skill into any business. If you learn to communicate, you carry it into any environment. If you learn to manage money, you use that knowledge for the rest of your life. If you learn to create value, you can rebuild your income even when one door closes. That is why investing in high-value skills may be one of the most important decisions of your financial life. Because you stop depending solely on the strength of your labor and begin depending also on the intelligence with which you use your abilities. Over the next 6 months, treat your development as a priority. Set aside time to study. Take notes. Practice every day. Apply what you learn. Seek to improve a little each week. Do not study just to accumulate information. Study to transform knowledge into results. If you learn something about sales, try applying it in a real conversation. If you learn something about money, apply it to your budget. If you learn something about content, publish something. If you learn something about business, test a small idea. Because knowledge that sits still changes no one's life. Applied knowledge creates transformation. So the second point is this: develop a high-value skill and pursue excellence in it. Do not aim to be merely average. Do not aim to do only the minimum. If you want above-average results, you need to develop above-average skills. That does not mean being perfect. It means being willing to improve continuously. Each day, learn a little. Each week, practice more. Each month, observe your evolution. And at the end of 6 months, you will be able to look back and realize that you not only gained knowledge, but increased your value as a person, as a professional, and as a builder of your own financial freedom. Because clarity shows you where you want to go, but skill is what increases your capacity to get there. Point 3. Dedicate 2.5 hours a day to building a business on the internet. The third point for transforming your financial life in 6 months is to dedicate 2.5 hours a day to creating or developing a business on the internet. And before you think this means quitting your job, leaving everything behind, or putting your stability at risk, understand one thing. The idea is not to act out of desperation. The idea is to use part of your free time more intelligently. Many people say they want to earn more money, but cannot find the time to build something new. They say they want financial freedom, but spend hours every day consuming content that does not improve their lives. They say they want extra income, but keep using their free time only to rest, complain, or get distracted. The problem is that if you do not set aside time to build the future, you end up using all your time just surviving the present. 2.5 hours a day may seem like little when looked at in isolation, but when you repeat that every day for 6 months, you are talking about approximately 420 hours of building. Now imagine what a person can do with 420 well-used hours. They can learn a skill, study a market, understand an audience, create a product, improve an offer, learn marketing, talk to potential customers, create content, test ideas, correct mistakes, start small and evolve step by step. 420 hours is no small thing. The problem is that many people waste that same amount of time without realizing it. Some people spend 2 or more hours a day just scrolling through social media, watching random videos, following discussions that change nothing, or looking at other people's lives. Then they say they have no time to grow, but time exists. What is often missing is priority. If you truly want to change your financial life in 6 months, you need to trade part of passive consumption for active construction. Instead of just watching other people selling, creating, growing, and earning money, start building something of your own. The internet has opened doors that did not exist before. Today, a person can start with little, using knowledge, skill, and consistency. They can sell a service, create content, work as an affiliate, put together a digital product, offer consulting, create a page, sell a spreadsheet, teach something they know, edit videos, write texts, help small businesses, create a community, or develop an online store. You do not need to start big. You need to start with clarity. During those 2.5 hours a day, the first thing you should do is understand who you want to help. Because a business does not begin only with the desire to make money, it begins when you identify a real problem and offer a useful solution. Ask yourself, who is the person I can help? What problem do they have? What do they want? What can they not resolve on their own? What kind of service, product, or knowledge could make their life easier? When you understand your audience, it becomes easier to create something of value. Many people make the mistake of starting with only money in mind. They want to sell anything to anyone. But those who try to sell to everyone usually end up speaking clearly to no one. If you want to build a business on the internet, you need to know who you are talking to. After understanding your audience, the next step is to create a solution. It does not need to be perfect at first. It can be simple. It can be a small service. It can be a digital material. It can be basic consulting. It can be a lesson. It can be a guide. It can be an offer to solve a specific problem. What matters is putting something out into the world and starting to learn from people's responses. Because many people get stuck in endless planning. They plan, take notes, study, change their minds, wait for the right moment, and never launch anything. They want absolute certainty before starting, but the market only truly teaches when you test. You discover what works by doing. You discover what needs to be improved by listening to people. You discover what sells by testing offers. You discover how to communicate better by practicing. That is why, during those 2.5 hours, do not use all the time just studying. Studying is important, but applying is essential. Part of the time can be used for learning. Another part needs to be used for building. If you study marketing, apply it by creating a post, an offer, or a page. If you study sales, apply it by talking with potential customers. If you study content creation, publish something and observe the reaction. If you study digital products, create a simple first version and see if it solves a problem. Growth comes from the combination of learning and practice. It is also important to learn marketing, because you may have a good idea, a good product, or a good skill, but if you do not know how to communicate the value of what you offer, few people will notice. Marketing is not about deceiving people. Marketing is about clearly showing how your solution can help. It is about learning to speak to the right audience, with the right message, at the right moment. You need to learn to explain benefits, tell stories, build trust, and show why what you offer makes sense. Another important part is networking. This means building relationships, talking with people in the same market, learning from those who are more advanced, exchanging experiences, participating in communities, and creating connections that can open doors. Many opportunities appear through people. One client can refer another. A conversation can generate a partnership. A contact can show you a path you had not yet seen. But for that, you need to move out of the position of just observing and start participating. During these 6 months, it will also be necessary to avoid distractions, because the same phone that can help you build a business can also steal your attention every day. The internet can be a tool or a trap. It is a tool when you use it to learn, create, sell, communicate, and build. It becomes a trap when you use it only to compare yourself, get distracted, and lose hours without noticing. That is why you should set a clear schedule for those 2.5 hours. It can be early, before work. It can be in the evening. It can be divided into blocks throughout the day. What matters is treating that time as a serious commitment to your future. Do not wait for time to become available. Time rarely becomes available on its own. You need to reserve it. If possible, choose an environment with fewer distractions. Keep your phone away when it is not needed. Let the people around you know that that time will be used for study and building. Have a simple list of what you need to do that day, because without planning, even those 2.5 hours can be wasted. One day, you can use that time to study your audience, the next to create an offer, then to produce content, then to speak with potential customers, then to improve your product, then to study marketing, then to analyze what worked and what needs to change. That way, each day places one more brick in the construction. And that is exactly what an internet business is in the beginning, a construction built one brick at a time. In the first month, you may still be learning and organizing ideas. In the second month, you may start testing. In the third, you may get the first signs of results. In the fourth, you may better understand what works. In the fifth, you can adjust your strategy. In the sixth, you will already have far more experience than you had when you started. You may not become rich in 6 months, but you can move from zero, build structure, develop skills, and start a new source of income. And that is already an enormous change, because those who build nothing continue depending only on their salary. But those who start building something of their own, even something small, begin opening new possibilities. So the third point is this: set aside 2.5 hours a day to build a business on the internet. Use that time to learn, create, test, promote, talk, correct, and improve. Do not waste those hours just consuming content without purpose. Transform your time into a building tool, because the next 6 months will pass regardless. The difference is that at the end of that period, you can look back and realize that you were only watching other people's lives, or you can realize that you began building something of your own. And in the next point, we will talk about what keeps this construction alive even when results have not yet appeared. Focus and consistency. Point 4. Maintain focus and consistency even when results have not yet appeared. The fourth point for transforming your financial life in 6 months is to maintain focus and consistency. And perhaps this is the point that separates those who only begin from those who truly manage to advance. Because many people start out excited, they watch a video, feel motivated, write goals, promise to change, start studying, try to build something on the internet, and for a few days seem completely committed. But then the excitement fades, the routine weighs heavily, tiredness sets in, results take time, the first attempts do not work out, few people pay attention to what they are doing, and then that inner voice begins saying, "Maybe this does not work for me." That is when many people give up, not because they were incapable, not because the plan was impossible, but because they expected results too quickly. Financial construction works like a plant. You do not put a seed in the ground today and demand fruit tomorrow. First it needs to grow roots. Then it begins to grow. For a while, almost nothing appears on the outside, but something important is happening beneath the soil. The same thing happens with your financial life. When you start studying, controlling spending, developing a skill, creating extra income, or building an online business, perhaps the first days seem too small. You look at the effort and think nothing is changing. But if you continue, something starts to take root inside you. Your mind becomes more disciplined. Your vision becomes clearer. Your skill improves. Your control over money increases. Your confidence begins to grow. But all of that requires time. That is why focus means choosing a direction and staying on it without being distracted by every new promise that appears. Today, many people do not fail for lack of opportunity. They fail because they jump from opportunity to opportunity. They start something on Monday, change their minds on Friday, try another strategy the following month, then abandon everything and start from zero again. They do not give anything enough time to grow. If you want to transform your financial life in 6 months, you need to stop changing direction every time a new promise appears. Choose a goal, choose a skill, choose a project, choose a routine, and stay with it long enough to start reaping learning and results. Consistency is doing what needs to be done, even when motivation does not show up, because motivation is unstable. Today you may feel excited, tomorrow you may feel tired. Today things may seem easy, tomorrow they may feel heavy. If you depend only on willingness, you will stop halfway. The disciplined person acts even without enthusiasm because they understand that results do not come from one perfect day, but from the repetition of many ordinary days. Imagine someone who decides to build an online business. On the first day, they study their audience. On the second, they write ideas. On the third, they create content. On the fourth, they improve an offer. On the fifth, they talk with someone. On the sixth, they learn a bit of marketing. On the seventh, they review everything. None of those days alone seems to change their life, but added together over weeks and months, they build something. It is like placing bricks in a wall. One brick does not seem like much, but one brick a day, with patience, builds a structure. The mistake many people make is undervaluing the small bricks. The person wants big results but does not value small actions. They want to earn more but do not want to study every day. They want to build a business but do not want to test. They want financial freedom but do not want to repeat the basics with discipline. But wealth is not built only through big moves. Often it is born from what you do every day when no one is watching. It is the money you set aside even when it is a small amount. It is the skill you practice even without applause. It is the content you create even with few views. It is the offer you improve even after hearing a no. It is the debt you reduce little by little. It is the habit you insist on maintaining. And here comes another important truth. Failures are part of the process. Many people treat mistakes as signs of failure, but a mistake can be a lesson. When an attempt does not work out, it shows what needs to be adjusted. When an offer does not sell, it teaches that perhaps the message needs to improve. When content does not reach people, it shows that you need to better understand your audience. When an investment does not go as expected, it shows the importance of studying more and managing risk. The problem is not making mistakes. The problem is making mistakes and not learning from them. Those who build wealth learn to transform failures into information. Each mistake shows part of the path. Each attempt teaches something. Each adjustment brings you closer to a better decision. Sometimes, a single success can change a person's financial trajectory, but that success usually comes after many attempts that seemed small. That is why you should not give up, because the first result has not appeared. Do not abandon the project because the first week was difficult. Do not throw away your plan because one attempt failed. Keep watering, keep building, keep adjusting. If you planted a seed, you need to give it time to grow. If you started a skill, you need to practice until you improve. If you started a project, you need to test until you find the way. If you decided to organize your financial life, you need to repeat the habits month after month. Over the next 6 months, create a simple routine and follow that routine seriously. Define your study time. Define the time for your project. Define how much you will set aside from your salary. Define what you need to do every day. Do not rely on memory. Do not rely on willpower. Write it down, track it, and follow through. Because what is important needs to have a place in your schedule. If building wealth remains only a loose idea in your mind, any distraction will take its place. But when you put it on the calendar, define times and track your progress, you begin treating your financial change as a priority. And there is something powerful in consistency. It changes your identity. In the beginning, you are simply trying to save money. Later, you start to see yourself as someone disciplined. In the beginning, you are trying to study. Later, you start to see yourself as someone who learns every day. In the beginning, you are trying to create extra income. Later, you start to see yourself as someone who builds opportunities. That internal change is enormous. Because when you begin to see yourself as a disciplined person, your decisions change. You stop acting like someone who lives by improvisation and start acting like someone who is building a future. So, the fourth point is this: maintain focus and consistency. Choose a direction and stay on it. Water your financial plant every day, even when there is no fruit yet. Build your bricks daily, even when the wall still seems small. Learn from mistakes, adjust the path, and keep moving forward. Because financial success does not belong only to those who start out excited. It belongs to those who keep going when the motivation is gone. And in the next and final point, we will talk about the decision that needs to happen now, because the perfect moment almost never arrives. Point 5. Make a decision now and take the first step today. The fifth and final point for transforming your financial life in 6 months is to make a decision now and take the first step today. Many people understand everything they need to do. They know they need to organize their money, know they need to develop a skill, know they need to create extra income, know they need more discipline, and know they need to stop putting things off. And yet, they keep waiting. They wait for the month to begin. They wait for their salary to increase. They wait for life to become calmer. They wait to have more time. They wait to feel more prepared. They wait for motivation to return. They wait for the perfect moment to appear. But the perfect moment almost never arrives. There will always be a bill to pay, a problem to solve, a fear trying to hold you back, a doubt in your mind, and a distraction calling for your attention. If you wait for everything to become easy before starting, you may remain in the same place for another 6 months, another year, or even another decade. The truth is that financial change begins when you decide to act even without having all the answers. You do not need to start big. You do not need to change everything in a single day. You do not need a perfect plan. But you do need to begin with a concrete action, because a small action taken today is worth more than a great promise left for later. If you want to change your financial life in the next 6 months, choose one thing to do today. It could be writing your goals on paper, calculating your debts, setting aside part of your salary, studying a skill for 30 minutes, coming up with your first business idea, building a spreadsheet, cutting an unnecessary expense, or marking on the calendar the time you will work on your project every day. What matters is transforming intention into movement, because intention does not pay off debt. Intention does not create extra income. Intention does not buy assets. Intention does not develop skills. Intention does not change anyone's life while it remains only inside their head. What changes lives is action. Imagine a person who spends months saying they are going to start. They watch videos, feel motivated, agree with everything, even comment that they need to change. But the next day they return to the same habits. They keep spending without thinking, keep wasting time, keep postponing their studies, keep waiting for a sign. Now imagine another person who also feels fear, also has doubts, and also does not know everything, but decides to act. They write their goals, choose a skill, set aside 2 hours of their day, start small, make mistakes, correct them, and keep going. After 6 months, they may not have everything resolved, but they will be far more advanced than the person who was only waiting. The difference between the two is not luck, it is attitude. One remained stuck in thought, the other got into motion. And when you get into motion, something starts to happen. You learn faster, you see your mistakes more clearly, you discover new possibilities, you gain confidence, you realize that many doubts only disappear when you start doing. That is why waiting too long can be a trap. The longer you wait, the harder it seems to begin. Your mind starts creating excuses, amplifying fears, and turning small difficulties into large barriers. But when you act, even with a simple step, you break that cycle. You show yourself that you do not need to be perfect to begin. You show that you can learn while walking. You show that your financial future does not depend only on willpower, but on repeated decisions. During this video, we talked about 5 essential points for turning the next 6 months into a period of real growth. First, you need to have clarity. Do not just say you want to get rich. Write specific goals with numbers, deadlines, and strong reasons. Second, develop high-value skills. Learn a skill that increases your ability to generate income and delivers more value to the market. Third, dedicate 2.5 hours a day to building something on the internet. Use that time to learn, create, test, promote, and develop a new source of income. Fourth, maintain focus and consistency. Keep watering your financial plant every day, even when results have not yet appeared. And fifth, act now, because none of this will have value if you finish this video feeling motivated, but keep doing exactly the same things. Financial transformation does not happen only when you understand an idea. It happens when you put that idea into practice. That is why, before leaving this video, do one simple thing. Mark on your calendar a concrete action to start today. Do not leave it for tomorrow. Do not wait until Monday. Do not wait until next month. Choose one action and execute it. If you need clarity, write your goals. If you need extra income, choose a skill to develop. If you need discipline, define your building schedule. If you need financial control, review your spending. If you need to start a business, write your first idea and take the first step. The next 6 months will pass regardless. The question is, when that period ends, will you look back and realize you were only wishing for a better life, or will you realize that you finally began building a new reality? You do not need to have everything resolved today, but you need to step out of stagnation, because those who wait for the perfect moment remain stuck. Those who start with what they have, learn, adjust, and evolve. And perhaps 6 months from now, you will not yet be where you want to be, but you could be much further from where you are today. You could have more clarity, more discipline, more knowledge, a better skill, a project underway, and a much stronger mindset. That is already transformation, so start now. Do not allow another month to pass without a decision. Do not allow another year to end with the same promises. Use this moment as your starting point. If this video spoke to you, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who also needs to stop putting off their own financial life. And write in the comments, "I will start today." Write that as a commitment to yourself, a commitment to stop waiting, stop making excuses, and start building, step by step, the financial life you wish to achieve. Because the future does not belong only to those who dream, it belongs to those who act.